Hi, welcome to today's class. I believe you enjoyed the last class. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and also turn on notification. Okay, please like and subscribe to our channel. All right, so today we'll be looking at how to use the developer console when you are coding. How to use the developer console when you are coding. You see, when you are coding or writing your programs, there's every possibility to have errors because your codes are prone to errors. You are absolutely going to make errors because there is no programmer, I doubt, that will write a code straightforward without having errors. So you are absolutely going to make errors. At least you are human and not a robot, so you will make errors. But in a browser, users don't see errors by default. Okay, those using your site don't see these errors by default. So if something goes wrong in the script, they won't see what goes wrong and they can't fix it. All right, but you as a developer, you can see these errors and get a lot of other information about your script using the developer tools that is embedded in the browser. Okay, most programmers like using Chrome for development or Firefox because these browsers have the best developer tools that you can think of. Although other browsers are there that also provide such tools with some good features. All right, but Chrome seems to be the best that you can think of, at least that I like using personally. Okay, these tools are potent. They have many features to start with. All right, so let's take an example of how to use this tool. Using this tool is quite easy. Okay, so let's take an example on how to use this tool. Let's say this is our code. Then let me remove this that we did in the last class. Then let's say I have an error code. Okay, let's say welcome to Javascript class. All right, obviously this is an error, but let's run it and see what we have on our browser. Okay, now when you open this in your browser, you find that there is no message on the platform, right? You don't have any message on the platform. Okay, why? Or rather, what are you seeing on the browser? You are seeing before the script and this other one there, right? But the thing is this: these are the text that you have on the body. Okay, this one is within the script. How come is it not showing in a browser? So it means there's an error. Obviously, from our code You can see that this red underlines means that there's an error. Okay, so now let's see how we can use our developer to debug this error and see how we can solve this problem. So what you do, you press F12 on your keyboard. Okay, if you are using Chrome, you press F12 on your keyboard. Then go over to your console. All right, you'll see where it says uncaught syntax error. Uncaught syntax error. Okay, then it's saying something that the unexpected identifier 2 is the error there. All right. So now, when you um, when you check closely, you find that the name of the file is labeled to the right hand side of the um, of the two. Okay, which you can click on. All right, you can click on it. So you can click on this two, or look at it from the elements, then go to where you have your scripts. You could see this is the script code there. All right. So if I should go back to my this thing here, to my tool here, my console. Okay. Now we can see its errors. All right. So you see this errors is there. What would we do? We have to look for a way to edit these errors and correct this error. But before that, you would see this blue sign here, which indicates that, or this blue arrow, which indicates that you can type into this place. Okay. If I want to go to the next line, I can type 2. You debug your code. So remember to always press F12 from your keyboard. All right. Then it takes you to the line number. Okay. You see, this is the file name and the line number. All right. So on line 14. So this is how you debug your code on JavaScript. I believe that's understood. All right. So let's go over to variables. Let's go over to variables. Remember, please like and subscribe to our channel. Okay. Even if you are a complete beginner, I'm not in a hurry. I'm going to take my time to explain each of these step by step so that you can understand how these things work. Then start programming or coding in your own way. All right. So first and foremost, let's begin. So I'll take this off. I'll take this off. All right. So we are looking at variables. What are variables? Variables. You see, there is a way all applications work. For example, you can have an online shop, and in this online shop, okay, you can have information that might look like that might include goods being sold and a shopping cart, right? E.g., your Jumia shop or Konga or eBay. These are shops that you can buy and sell. So you can buy online, add to your carts, pay online. Okay? You can also have another application called chat application. Okay? That include users, messages, and much more. All right? So now this information, like your messages, users, and all that, all right, are stored somewhere. Okay? So please follow up. Listen attentively. I'm trying to explain the concept of variables for you. So variables basically are used to store information. Variables are used to store information. So basically, we can say that a variable is a name storage for data. We can use variables to store visitors, users, goodies, and other type of data when you are programming. Okay, that's what you use variable for. Now, the issue is now is how do we create these variables? How do we create these variables that can hold information for us while we are programming? How do we create these variables? It's simple. In every language or programming language, there are ways to create variables. But our focus here is JavaScript. So in JavaScript, one way to create a variable is to use the let keyword. To use to use the let keyword. So if I should say type it like this and say let message. Okay? Let message. Now this let here is indicating that this message is a variable. Is that okay? So it means that this message is a variable. Let message. So we will now decide what should be stored inside message. So in other words, you can see variables as a container that can hold a content for a period of time. Okay? That's how you can see a variable. All right? Now, let's say we want to put a data inside this variable. Let's say this variable should have, or let's change this variable to user. Okay? Then let's say this user is going to hold a text, John Doe. Okay? It's going to hold a text, John Doe. This John Doe is a string. We'll talk about strings later. Strings basically are text that are held within a quote. So anytime you see something within a quote, it's called what? A string. Okay? Now, this string is now saved into the memory area that the variable holds. Okay? That the variable holds. So anytime I call user, This actually triggers what is stored inside user. All right. And in this case, John Doe will respond. All right. Because at this point, the user is holding John Doe. Now let's check. How can we check to see if actually John Doe is stored inside user? Okay, we'll call back a function. If you remember in our last class, we used the function alerts. If you remember in our last class, to display a message. All right. So let's say alert user. Okay, alert user. So now let's see what is stored inside this user. Let's see if what we are saying is correct. Oops, you see, you say this page says John Doe. So you see that John Doe is stored inside user. So let's take another example again. Let's say you are in your house, you have a table and locker. And in that locker, in your table, you have a coffee inside the locker. Then you ask someone to get you the coffee inside that locker. Let's say your brother, your sister, your nephew, your child, or whoever it is, person may be. Get me the coffee inside the locker. And the person goes, opens the locker, and gets you the coffee. You see that at that point in time, that locker within that table is holding the content, coffee. So when you open the locker, you get what? Your coffee. So that locker at that point is standing or is acting as what? A variable at that point in time. Is that okay? Yes. I believe you understand the concept of variable. Okay? So it shows the content of the variable. All right. We can combine the variable declaration and assignment into a single line. If you watch now, I have 3 lines here. If you remember in our first class, we talked about statements and that you can end a statement using what? A semicolon. Now, we have 3 lines here, line 1, 2, and 3. Okay, you can see it 1, 2, and 3. All right, so now we can actually break this whole thing into 2 lines. In other words, we can remove this line and just have this single one. How? By simply just come down here and say let user is assigned the string called John Doe. So I will take off this. So I have 2 lines. So this will still function the same way with the previous code that we had. Now, please note, this equal sign here means assignments. Okay, it's called an assignment operator. It's not equals to in programming. Yes, in your normal mathematics, that is your equal to sign, right? But in programming, it's called assignment. So you are assigning this value towards this variable that has been declared using this variable keyword, let. Is that okay? Now, if we should run this again, we should have what we call display John Doe. The piece page says John Doe. Okay? So this is more like a shorter way to rewrite your code. It makes your code less cumbersome. All right? Less cumbersome. Then we can have multiple variables in one line. Multiple variables in one line. Let's say, for example, you want to have, you say, like John Doe. Who is John Doe? That's a user. Let's say he has a password. Let's say password of John123. All right. Then let's say he also um, lives in a city, or let's call it residence. Residence. Okay, residence. Let's say he residence in a city, New York City. New York City. All right. So these are information of what a user called John Doe. He has a password. And he lives in New York City. All right. Follow me closely. Now, we're having 4 lines of code here, but I can decide to make it shorter by using a comma. So I can decide to say, okay, everything should be in a single line. I'll come down here. I'll say password should assign John123. Then I should say resident should be assigned New York City. So I'll take off this. All right. You see, I have been able to achieve this. Now, how can I display all this? I can say John, okay? I can say, oh, better still. In a better way, we can display this whole message. This whole message. We can just say, um, let's put it this way. John plus password plus residence. So let's see what we have. Okay, you see, John Doe password, they're all together. Don't worry, we'll get to understand better on how to display our items, our results in a more presentable way. But right now, just get the hang of it. Just understand what we are trying to achieve here right now. That you can actually um, display or write your variables in a single in a single line. Your multiple variables in a single line. This makes it shorter. Okay. Although it's not really recommendable because it does not actually aid um, readability. Okay, it doesn't actually aid readability. Okay, but there are times when you want to make your code a bit short, you can employ the use of this. All right. So some persons like it this way, some persons like it the other way. So whichever way you feel is comfortable for you, you can use it. All right. All right. Then we have another way to declare variables. is called VAR, using VAR, VAR keyword, VAR user is assigned John Doe. Okay, the VAR keyword is used in the older scripts. Okay, they use it in the older script, while the newer script uses let. The var keyword is almost the same thing as let. It also declares a variable, but in a slightly different old school way. Okay? In a slightly different old school way. The var works like let, like, right? But internally, the var is a very different beast on its own, because it originates from very old times. It's used in the old times. Okay, it's generally not used in modern script. All right, but it's used in old times. Now, what? Let's talk about var a bit. Although it's not actually used, we don't really use it much, but let's talk about it a bit. All right. Um, Variables declared with var are either function scoped or global scoped. Okay, they are visible through blocks. They are visible through blocks. We will talk about code blocks later on. But var ignores code blocks. Code blocks. It can go beyond blocks of codes. While let is visible within a block of codes. Let's take an example now. Don't worry about this. We would explain better. Let's say I have a block of code. If true, let user is assigned John Doe. Okay, it's assigned John Doe. Then let's alert user. Okay, let's alert user. Now let's see what we have. Nothing is displaying. Can we check why? F12. You see, it's saying what? Reference error. User is not what? Defined. But we define user on line 18. But we define user. What happened? Let's go back to our code and let's see. It's because user is visible within this block of codes. This is a block. This is a beginning block. This is a closing block. Now, let's change this to var. Okay? Then let's run our code and see what we have. Vowler. It's displayed what? John Doe. So you see that var is a bit more dogged than let's. It's a bit more dogged than let's. Okay? So this is one of the key difference between a var and using let's. All right. Another key difference again that we can see with var is that if we declare the same variable with let twice in the same scope, it will give an error. But you can use var to declare variables more than once. For example, if I come down here and I say let's user, and I come down here again, let's user. You see, it's already giving me red because you are declaring the variable the same over and over again. All right. But with var, you can declare a variable using var and it should not give you error. Let's see. If I change here to var and I change here to var, you see. So this is another advantage of using var over let's. Okay, of using var over let's. All right. So you see, these are two these are two advantages I've given you so far. All right. If you have any question, please leave it in the comment section below, and I will respond accordingly. So basically, we've given you two main difference of var and let. Var variables have no block scope. Their visibility is scoped to the current function, okay, if declared outside the function. Var declarations are processed at function starts, okay. There is one more very minor difference that we will check later on as we progress, okay. So that is that between using var and let to declare variables. We can also have another one called const. Okay? We can also have another one called const. Constant variables are used to declare a variable that we cannot change within your program. So instead of using var, let, we can use consts. For example, now I have age 25. Okay? This could be a constant. But a better example would be, let's use pi 25. So when we say const pi, so it means what? This value will not change. Let's use 3.142, which is on our pi. So it means this value will not change. So wherever I see pi, or whenever I'm coding, or whenever the parser is passing through my codes, and where it sees pi, it knows that pi will never change the value. Pi is 3.142. Okay? So variables declared using const are called constants. They cannot be reassigned. If you try it, it will cause you an error. All right? If you try it, it will cause you an error. So most times, when a programmer is sure that a variable will never change. What they do, they declare it with const to guarantee and clearly communicate that this variable can never change. All right. So you use it when you are sure that a variable can never change. That's when you use your const. I believe that that's understood. All right. So that is how to declare variables. So we've seen var, let, and const. All right. To declare a variable. Now let's look at how to name our variables. There are two limitations on variable names on JavaScript. There are two limitations on variable naming when it comes to JavaScript. Number one, the name must contain only letters, digits, or symbols. Number two, the first character must not be a digit. First character must not be a digit. So let's say I want to name a variable. I like using let actually. So let's say I use let user is assigned John Doe. Okay? Now this first character should be or must be a small letter. You shouldn't do this. That would be wrong. Okay? You use this according to a naming convention. But if we want to have two words as a variable, so let's say I want to use let user name is assigned Christmas Academy. All right. Now, if you observe, I'm using first letter small for the first word. Then the second word is having big letter N as the what? As the beginning of the word name. All right. So this is the way you can name your variables. If you are doing something like this, it's wrong. You should do something like this, which is better. All right. So this is what we call camel casing naming convention. You know how camel look like, right? Yes. So it has the camel casing. This is how camel casing. This is called camel casing naming convention. So that is words go one after the other. Each word except the first starting with a capital letter. All right. So that is, you can have 3 words or 4 words, but the first word must be small letter, that is the first letter in the word, while every other words, the first letters will be what? Uppercase letters. All right. You can use your dollar sign and underscore can also be used in names too. All right, so you can use them when you are working calling a variable. But one thing you should take note of in JavaScript is that case JavaScript is case sensitive. I repeat, JavaScript is case sensitive. That is, these two are different. Let's fruits, orange. Let's fruits, pineapple. These two variables are different. All right. If you observe now, there is no error. There is no error. Okay. So JavaScript is a case sensitive language. All right. Is a case sensitive language. Is that clear? Good. So you should be careful. Sometimes beginners get to have this kind of error. They might declare a variable with uppercase and be calling the variable in a small case, in lowercase. And they will be wondering, why is it not calling? What is going on? I'm getting this thing well. It's working. But what's going on? What's going on? The problem is that it is you are calling different cases of the same variable. Okay? So you should check. These are bugs. These are bugs. This is how you decode. This is how you debug your codes. You check and see what you can do. Is that okay? Good. I believe you understood that. Another key factor that you should know is that you cannot use a reserved words as a variable name because they are used by the language itself. E.g., I cannot say let var is assigned variable or whatever. Because this var is a reserved word. You can't use it. The language has reserved those words for itself. Okay? So you can't use it. To get to know more of reserved words that are used by JavaScript, you can go to Google and type list of reserved words. But I can just leave some out for you to see here. Okay? I have, we can say var, let, if, for, function, hmm, return, etc. There are a whole lot of these reserved words. Okay? There are a whole lot of these reserved words. You can go to Google and just type list of reserved words, JavaScript reserved words, and you should see a lot of them, a whole lot of them. Okay? All right. So I believe, please, if you have any question, leave it in the comment section below, and I'll answer your question very well. Okay, we're taking it step by step so you become a good JavaScript programmer. All right, talking about variables, there is one more extremely important thing that we should understand. A variable name should have a clean, obvious meaning, describing the data that it stores. When using variable names, ensure you use names that can explain what the code is doing at a glance. Okay, it should be clean and have good meaning, and also describe the data that it stores. Okay, when you're working on a project, most of your time is spent modifying and extending an existing code base rather than writing something completely separate from scratch. All right, so please spend time thinking about the right name for your variable before declaring it. Doing so will repay you handsomely to save you a lot of stress. Some good rules to follow are: number one, use human readable names like username or shopping cart. Okay, that would help. Stay away from abbreviations. Avoid abbreviations like A, B, C, something like this. Something like let A be this. Do you get? Rather, use use good names, human readable names. All right. So use such. Then make names maximally descriptive and concise. Example of a bad data names. Examples of bad names are data and value. Such names says nothing. It is only okay to use them if the context of the code makes it obvious. All right. So use names that are not too vague, that anybody can understand what that function or that action is taken. When you are working with your teams, agree with your teams on which kind of variables that you can use or naming convention that you can use. Okay, so this is a brief introduction on variables. If you have any question on variables, please leave it in the comment section below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Facebook, Principal Academy, and also share with your friends. Share with your friend. Leave leave your comment below. Thank you. See you in our next class. Bye bye.